Yeah.
Once again, how you guys doing? This Mike Melton back in the spotlight. Live tonight, we got Terrance Munch Williams, director of PSA Cardinals, one of the most successful basketball programs in the country. And we just happy to have you here. How you doing tonight, Munch?
I'm ecstatic, man. I'm in between the Columbia Loyola game, so it's halftime, and I got to see two alumni, and then my guy Jaden Reeves popped up, Dartmouth graduate, call him Bobby Fischer. So I've been blessed the last 40 minutes. So took a TV timeout from that to get with my friend, and I mean friend. Mike Melton, what's up, baby?
Indeed. All right, first we like to do our dedication first. This show will be dedicated to a friend of mine, Tyrone Lord Ice.
Yes, sir.
Born August 14th, 1967, passed away February 2nd, 2021. Lord Ice was dedicated to working with the youth at basketball spotlight tournaments, showcases, and camps. He loved training and developing players of all ages while being of his Asbury Park community. Lord Ice was authentic as they come and one of my best friends. He will be truly missed. Love you, bro. That's my man Ice right there. Now we could get the Munch. So what's been up, brother?
Yo, man, first and foremost, I've never been on this live, so I'm going to just go out and tell the world. When it comes to PSA, we the best.
Jeez, he's starting off like that.
Straightforward, no chaser. You know, we the best, man.
This is what I'm talking about. Let's get to it.
Yeah, we're going to get into it as much as you want to, man. And then before we go further, I got to send a shout out to my brothers, man. Some of y'all call them the staff and guys that I work with, but I'm fortunate enough to sit here and do this interview with you, but the reality is that they're the answers to all the problems. And without those guys daily, you know, I don't the list is too long for me to say everybody's name individually, but shout out to them, homage to them, big kudos to them. This program is where it's at today because of the work of the men, blood, sweat, and tears. I'm sure we'll get into the essence of it, but I don't like to do too many interviews without showing my proper etiquette and respect towards the men that are rolling up the sleeves and doing that work. So anybody that's looking for the answers to how to have an elite program, make sure you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you and work harder than you and go from there. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Love them guys.
Let's talk about how you started this with Scan Basketball. Like, what did you envision from the beginning?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we fell into it, man. I was working in the after school program. I was the in charge of the academic side, educational coordinator over at SCAN, Supportive Children Advocacy Network. That's kind of where I grew up at. That was my after school program when I was a kid, and I came back and was working there. And Mike Richardson, Will Richardson's father, another PSA alum, he was like, "Look, man, you need to coach this team, some sixth graders, and you know, some young guys. Shout out to the 2014 class. Like, we wouldn't be who we are today without that class, right? Like, that's the main cog in the machine that we running, and they started it all. So, like I said, they was in sixth grade, and we envisioned to get those guys off the street and make sure that they coming into a safe haven every day. And we had a facility that they came to, and they was eating lunch and eating dinner there and getting their homework done, and that kind of like evolved into us trying to figure out how to get them in better schools. And
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we just try to figure out how to get them in better schools, mostly junior boarding schools and things of that nature. You know, just getting them out of the public school system and getting them in places that we felt like the network can be at a higher clip. You know, the small class setting would be better. And honestly, they were going to school. Hope at that point we could get them in for free based on their W-2 forms. So I think our vision was completely off the court, and then it led to, you know, a ton of success. So, you know, we didn't run around looking for a Nike deal. We were playing local, Central Park, 96th Street, Nike Swish, you know, obviously Hoop Group, your stuff, B-Ball Spotlight. Like, we were just saying, look, we go anywhere from Jersey to Connecticut to New York and up and down that corridor. So we was ecstatic just to be running around. And anybody that know the story knows, like, when people say we got it out the mud, like we really, really did that. Like we planted the seed in the ground, we watered that thing, you know what I mean? We got some sunlight on it and let it blossom. And those guys, like I said, especially the 2014 kids when they was young, middle school kids, they put a lot of pain in, man. They was on that track, they was in that weight room, they was in that park running. You know, we was selling that candy, them raffle tickets, squeegees, and any way to make it. And we were wearing Starbursts, right? We was wearing Starbursts. We was
I
going
remember
to,
that.
you know what I mean? We were going to Modell's, and we were getting to the D-Wade Converse at that time. Like, we would just say, look, man, we're going to earn every single inch of this thing, right?
Can
And
you hear me good?
I can hear you loud and clear, my guy.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, that's kind of how we started, but it really was from the basis of just getting them out of the after school program after middle school, and trying to help them get into good academic places, because that was my background of going to public school, then going to private school, and then my guy Jason Ford, rest in peace, Justin, Justin Dre, just guys who was there, and obviously the rest of the staff and guys, brothers that been working at it. We were really keen on how can we help them academically, socially, and network wise before the basketball. So the basketball was going to take care of itself. The beauty of it was it was a bunch of non quote unquote AAU kids, right? Like they weren't a bunch of guys who people knew their names. Like, you remember Kevin Seymour and Abigail Adams, right? Like they bust on the scene. Didn't nobody know who them kids were. You know what I mean? But we was in that lab every day, man. 7 days a week. 7 days a week. Like, for real, 7 days a week. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's
early on, you were real good with your marketing of the team and the product. You get what I'm saying? And then once the game went into the reclass type thing, you took advantage of that situation in terms of understanding that could be marketing. Explain how you were ahead of the game when it came to that.
Man, I mean, we took a lot of flack for for guys reclassing, right? And I think that when we were in that environment, people were just thinking about basketball when we were coming from an educational background. Like, the leaders of the program, we were like, look, I remember sitting in a class in New Hampshire in a prep school, and the kid being 20 years old and him being a hockey player, and another kid being 19 and him being a football player, right? And looking across the room, and a young lady, she being 18 and a half, 19, and she doing it for tennis. So I think we learned the game. You know what I mean? We learned the game from a equal opportunity standpoint. Like, we were just trying to find ways to say, all right, we take these regular, quote unquote, regular kids, outside of basketball, and put them in spaces that forget what they could do on the court. Like, we were trying to think about what they can become later, right? Like, how can they get into college? How can they get into these big time schools? And one of the things with the Portland schools, it's not us. They'll tell you, hey, if you're going to come to school X, we're going to ask you to reclassify. And it wasn't a big deal. You could always make it back up, right? Like, what's the difference between you being 22 or 23 and making six figures when you come out of college, or you getting two degrees? And I think it's up until this day that people didn't know what we were doing, right? They just thought, oh, these dudes were reclassing to win Fun Sport or to win people a spotlight. And it was like, you guys are not even playing the same game. Like, it's the same basketball, but it's a whole different game of how we operated, right? We were looking at, Austrian Robinson, instead of going to school X, we're trying to get him to a Catholic school and then a private school and reclass. And now, this guy's ended up at Trinity Paul and then leading into football and getting a master's degree at Ole Miss, right? And becoming a father and obviously making a ton of money, but being a great man, right? Like, it's these stories that people don't understand or nor see the day-to-day operations. They only see the weekend, right? Like, oh man, this kid scored 16 points and he's 15 instead of 14. Like, we didn't care about necessarily the wins and losses. Like, we're gonna win. We always won. Like, that's the thing. I said it earlier, right? We the best. Yeah, that's right. Right. So my point being, we weren't necessarily worrying about the wins and losses. We were trying to usher just these kids and helping their lives get on the right track to have a chance, just a chance, right, at functioning. Like, Joel Villa, was a kid who we met at 12, 13 years old, didn't speak English. His dad was a super. If you track down Joel Villa right now, he got 2 degrees, right, and owns a business.
Wow.
Do you think he cares that he reclassed in the 9th grade? Right? Like, if you just track the kids who did it that weren't basketball superstars, because none of the kids who were reclassing at that early age ended up in the NBA, right? But they ended up in college for free, came out of college debt free, and ended up in a good profession if that's what they're doing. Or they playing ball overseas. And then, but this is the other storyline. No one tells the story when you reclass a kid up, right? The Unique McLeans. You know
Wow.
Unique, right? When Unique came to us, he was 2 years behind academically. He couldn't pass the end of the year exam. And what we did with Unique was,
Whoa. I think we lost him somehow.
and then get Unique and then make a deal with the school to say, hey, if you want this type of talent, you need to move him up one grade, right? So he reclassed up a grade to just be behind a grade. But if you fast forward, Unique got a bachelor's from UMass, a master's from LIU Brooklyn, and he playing overseas. Do you really believe that Unique cared that if he reclassed up a year and was only 1 year behind? So before you criticize the whole reclass, let it play out and see what happens down the line. That's my thing. You know what I mean? Can you see
So
me?
now I remember you having some heat from that. I remember seeing an article in a New York paper talking about it was a mass exodus of the talent leaving New York and going to prep schools. And a lot of people had your name involved in it and things of that. How did you deal with that kind of heat that was coming from kids going to the prep schools?
Man, listen, Mike. First and foremost, they tell you born alone, die alone. That's first of all. I'm cut from a different cloth, man. I'm strong. Like if the people that I'm assisting, the people that I'm helping, right? They showing love and they get what we doing. The guys that I'm working with every day, like they know what we doing. Like shout out to Francis, right? Like, you know, she was driving up and down that highway, right? Young woman from the Bronx. Her son is Francisco Zeno. You think I cared about what somebody that was playing basketball in Brooklyn kid? If her son is able to go to a Pheasant for free and get him out of that
Talk about
community
it,
and
bro.
have an opportunity, like this was so much bigger than what people could see at that time. Like at that time, those comments they were null and void to me. Like I felt like
Okay.
people they were just Ray Charles to what was going on in the world. Stevie Wonder, they was blind, right? And what we were trying to do is completely different than what the norm was, right? Like no disrespect, the way I looked at it was like people were looking for entertainment, right? So they were upset. They were upset that Chris McCullough wasn't playing at St. Raymond's on a Friday night because they needed something to entertain them, right? I'm not into entertainment. This ain't the circus. I was into trying to help change lives and put them in places where ultimately they can have a better chance at real life. We were talking real life. So, man, you know what I mean? I couldn't hear it. You know, Jay say, you know what I mean? Don't argue with a fool. People from afar can't tell who's who. So
Indeed.
it did nothing to me. To be honest, I didn't really care.
Okay. Now you roll out, you get the Nike deal. Take me back to that moment when you had to leave the scan after school program and then go out on your own. What's
Yeah.
going through your mind at that time? You know what I'm saying? You about to leave a job you was at for years. You got to bet on yourself. What's going through your mind at that time?
I shout out to Andre Charles, man. He used to tell me all the time, you could be a millionaire, but you comfortable with this every 2 week check. And we would, and this is before entrepreneurship was like a big thing to me, right? Like he would always tell me your brain, the way you move, how you motivated, your attention to details, you got a $1 million brain. And I would just, shun them off. And we would just talk. But when that time came, I was like, wow, like, all right, how are we gonna keep the deal? Once we checked that off, we kept the deal. How we gonna keep the kids? We checked that off, and that showed like, all right, a belief in us, right? And
Okay.
the last time a group of people had to believe in us like that was pre having that Nike deal. That's why I said shout out to 2014 class when they were coming up. When they were coming up, we didn't have no deal, right? They were there and just loving and work. So this was another opportunity, another fork in the road to say, all right, well, you got to show some level of trust and belief that the people know what they're doing. And I think what took me aback was the amount of people that wanted us to quote unquote merge with them. The phone calls weren't coming for assistance. They were coming for, as you say, they were prepared opportunists, right?
Now
Like,
can I intervene for a second?
of course you
Now,
can.
I
But
remember a
can you see me?
conversation.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I see you clear.
See me clearly? Because I want you to
Yeah.
make sure through these Gucci lens, I'm telling you the truth, eye to eye.
All right.
Go
I
ahead.
remember a conversation we had. and you told me what you was going for. I'm going for that crown. And I said, it's 2 teams already got that crown. And you was like, Mike, I'm going to get that crown.
Yep.
And I laughed. I was like, this dude is really serious. And this is when y'all first getting going.
Yeah.
And you went and got the crown, bro. Do you remember that conversation?
Of course I did. I'm not, like we say we laugh, we joke, but we don't play. We laugh, we joke, we don't play. Remember, I had young boy energy at that time. You know what I mean? And people would, I think that moment it's the epitome of what somebody say when the moons and the stars align.
Okay.
Right? If you look around your market, there was a ton of chaos.
Wow.
And with a ton of chaos, opportunity presented itself, right? When it was raining, we put that, you know what I mean, Mr. Bentley Farnsworth put the umbrella and got to work. You know what I mean? They stayed out the rain and just kept it going. So we the thing about this stuff is, who wants to be number 2 at something? Like, who grows up saying, I want to be second, right? Wow. Nobody. And if you're going to do it, if you're going to be in it and you're going to go hard, you might as well try to be the best at it, right? Like, everybody thinks they're the best, right? But there's rubrics that could tell you who's the best, right? In some type of form or fashion, just like in the work field. But I say all that to say, at the end of the day, we was hungry. Like, I'll give you a quick synopsis. My man D Gates told a legend. We were in the parking lot in Neptune, New Jersey, right? I remember. And he told him, you don't got no pedigree.
I remember.
Right? Like, he just didn't care. Like, you don't got no pedigree. And we were like, yeah, Dave. Like, I don't care. This is what we doing. We here, and we got to, in this grassroots thing, it's not a lot of people that can say, yo, I've known what it felt like to be number 1 for a certain amount of time. I don't care if that time was a year, 3 years, 4 years. You know, the Gauchos, shout out to them. Riverside, shout out to them. There's a time in history where they just completely ran the show, right? Completely. Like, it's not even argument. You know what I mean? It's not a debate. We want to, and when it's all said and done, like, obviously people going to give us our flowers when we done, right? But I can feel, and I know there's a timeline that's time stamped that PSA was at the top of the mountain. Now how long that time stamp remains, because I said it before, we the best, right? But it depends on how long that timeline stands. But once you come down, like, some people do this and never know what it's like to be 1. That's scary to me. That's scary to me.
Talk about it.
Right? Like, I'm just in it. Like, nah, I can't just be in it. Like,
Now, let's take it back to PSA. How did y'all even develop this name and the whole concept?
Yeah, to start with the mascot, quote unquote, Cardinals, right? Okay. Like, myself, like I said, one of the directors, Jason, RIP, we lost my good brother a couple years back. Going on to Andre and Justin, we all went to Wesleyan University together. And the mascot was Cardinals. So that was like all right, if we name it Cardinals, we're gonna always have that to say, okay, we could attach it, right? We know that's us. That's where we all met each other at, right? At Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut. And then the PSA part was just Jason kind of came up with it, pro, because obviously you want to make pros in these different forms, right? Scholar is obviously we stand for education. We're serious about that. You know that from our resume. If anybody needed, I could just email it to you, right? But Scholar was significant and important, and obviously athletics, because we wanted to leave the space open to, if a kid generated from basketball to football, basketball to baseball, while he's still in the program, we didn't have an issue with that. You're still part of what we're doing. So we knew some guys, like, we got 4 or 5 guys who transferred from basketball into football and went to Division I schools for football. You know what I mean? Like, through this journey, like, they walked that AAU world, but then we were able to be smart enough to say, hey, time to tap out of basketball and get into this football thing. You nice on that gridiron, right? Like, that's the part that people not even understanding, how to use the system. So yeah, that's how we came up with the entire name, right? And now it's kind of like Coca-Cola, Pepsi. It's a brand name, baby.
All right, now let's talk about what type of players did y'all target? What was your prototype?
Yeah, I mean, I think we always wanted guys who, like, in that name, they believe deep down inside they could be pros, right? Deep down inside, they believe that. But then you also have to have a realization of school comes first and is prominent in what we're trying to accomplish, right? Like, you can't be a guy who just is like, I'm not dealing with school. I don't want to go to class. I don't want to do no work. I don't want to study. Like, that wasn't what we were shooting for. We were looking for people that really wanted to work, right? Get in the lab, put that paint in, get in the classroom, put that paint in, and then also just well-rounded young men who actually, you know, can shake your hand, look you in the eye, say your first and last name. It wasn't about, you know, having your pants off your behind. We were raising gentlemen, right? And honestly, at that point in time, you didn't necessarily have to come from one of them households that had the two families, or you know, the mom, the dad, or your mom was into something, your dad was into something. We were so into it that it was like, look, we're gonna raise you 7 days. So it didn't matter to us that, you know, you had mom and dad, whatever they were going through, that's their personal business. But we were looking for maturity, right, and dedication, and somebody that had some guys who had some fire in them, right, and obviously wasn't scared to go against whoever was considered the big bad wolf, right? We weren't backing down. We wanted, as the youth say now, we wanted all the smoke, right? And just guys who had a chip on their shoulder, but they were playing that duality, right? Like, you go into class and you want to sit in the front and participate and be that quote unquote nerd, but then when you get on that court, you got to have a different burn in you. So that's what we were searching for.
All right. Now, you worked all hard to build this program. You get the deal. You hit the EYBL, Nike EYBL circuit. Is it what it was all cracked up to be?
Competition wise, yeah. Like,
Okay.
when we got in there, man. Shit. One of my first 17U games was CP3 with Theo Pinson and a plethora of them dudes. Man, I ain't gonna lie. Like, we had a nice squad, man. But every game was pretty difficult, right? We were built for it. We was 4 or 5 years into building something special. We had just played 16U and did great and went up to 17U. It was a different energy at 17s, right? Different rules, different standards, different ways of going about the weekend. But I think it was the best circuit that you can get your hands on, and I still believe that to this day. From a competition standpoint, it is the best circuit that you can get your hands on in competition. And then honestly, at that time, man, we first going, we wasn't even thinking about the coaches. We wasn't thinking about the marketing. We were just like, if this is where the smoke at, and they telling us we belong here, and guess what? They paying for us to be here. Oh, we here now. Let's go. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was everything it was cracked up to be.
Now,
The kids love the gear at that point too.
yeah, the gear always
Yeah, they
comes
love
in
the gear.
handy.
Yes,
Now, when you're on the road with these kids,
yeah,
PSA Cardinals have a unique culture that I don't know if a lot of teams have this culture because I don't be on the road, but
yeah,
no phones,
yeah,
no fast food,
yeah.
a daily agenda on where you're going to be at all day long, and the study hall.
Yeah.
Now, who came up with this concept, and how hard was it to get the kids to buy in?
Well, the thing about it, when you the best, I'm gonna say that again. When you winning, right, and you showering them with love, and you making sure that they understand the main thing is gonna be the main thing. This is a business trip. We didn't come here to, like, we can go to movies on Wednesday, right? Like, I'm not, no disrespect to no child. I'm not stopping them from eating, you know, Subways and Burger King and all that on Thursday. But what we put in our body as we chase our dreams, because we're chasing dreams at that point, right? And what we're putting in our body is super, super important. And we were just ahead of the game, right? Like, we trying to eliminate distractions, right? Like, if you look at the typical guy now, he has upwards of 10 to 15 people calling his phone, different people calling his phone all weekend with different distractions before he gets to Instagrams, you know, Twitter and anything else, TikTok and all that. Like, no issues, no shade on that. It's just, we were kind of like, look, we're gonna be about this business. Like, we're gonna make sure you focus and you're gonna be the best version of yourself. So your teammate can do the same. So we can be collectively. So we can have the best shot at winning. All we were trying to do was get the best shot at winning. And if somebody tell me drinking a Sprite soda at McDonald's is better than the water, then good luck. If somebody tell me that the you know what I mean, eating the Popeye chicken is better for your stomach than the Chipotle, okay, cool, do your thing, right? And I think we were clear on what our standards was, and even to this day, we're clear. And the proof is in the pudding. So you see a lot more programs going towards, oh yeah, we're not doing that fast food, or Now they want to collect the phones and take them back, and they figuring out like, all right, I want to, because they want to win, right? And what they learned was, hey, that kid got his phone, and the kid is staying up to 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's distracting his teammates that's trying to get some rest, right? And you learned that his stomach is hurting midway through the second game because he's been drinking all that soda all weekend, right? Like now we doing ice baths, and like I said, surround yourself with smarter people. A guy, Andre Charles, came in there and he was doing all the quote unquote P90X stretching, and he started talking about, hey man, let's go to these morning pool workouts. And the phone thing was me. I was like, look man, get the phones out of here. I don't got time for that, right? And then eating right was him. We got damn near nutritionists on the road. Like how many programs is investing in their athletes, their student athletes to that capacity? And then you remember at 17, you're a junior, you got SAT coming up. You got high level academics on the weekend when you come back on Monday. So we got to set off a timeline to say, okay, well, we got to get some academics done, right? And if you're going to be about that life, you got to be that, right? Like I remember Sheikh Diallo studying for the SAT in the lobby, right? This is a kid from Mali, and by his junior year, he was studying for the SAT in the middle of a session, right? So now they doing financial literacy classes, and they going to the bank in the middle of the Peace Jam, and all that's Dre. Dre is an evil genius, and how he prepares these guys for what they got to do off the court, and then obviously we lead into what we got to do with the film. Like we don't really have downtime, right? Like you talking about watching film, you talking about a study hall, you're talking about some rest, you're talking about 2-3 meals, right, per day, you're talking about 2 games in a day, you're talking about like you wake up and do it again. So how much time do you really have, honestly, of downtime? Like we've gotten to the point where we don't even go out to the restaurants like that. We order all the food in because we're trying to save steps. Every step you take is a step that you might miss a closeout. Oh, don't get me to preaching, man. Come on now. You're going to take me to, don't have me do it to him. Yeah,
I got one more thing though.
Go ahead.
I remember hearing about and like mentor type thing you had set up with players that left.
Yeah.
With the new players. Talk about that a little bit.
Listen, big brother, little brother, that thing is heavy. Like people talk about brotherhood, but we serious with it over here, man. I'll give you a clear thing. At Peace Jam, before every single games, 8-9 games. Oh, matter of fact, the whole season, this past season, 17U, there was an alumni that called in, right? On Zoom, called in, gave some wise words of wisdom to the team, talked to them about carrying the torch, holding it down, what it stands for, life after. You got alumni that's coming to practices. You got alumni that's coming to galas. You got alumni that's texting in group texts with guys. Like Donovan had a Zoom with his group the other day, and we in November, and Avery Brown from Columbia was on the Zoom just talking to them about college life and staying the course. Joe Toussaint, like shout out all the PSA alums, man, because honestly speaking, I feel like a lot of these programs, they just want their alums to give them money. Right? Like, hey, give me a check and keep it moving. But for us, our alumni, they active, right? They are in tune. They recruiting guys, right? They'll call them kids and tell you about yourself. They working them out in the summer, right? Like you could see them working out with each other, whether it's Ty Jerome or Tyson, and they throw them young boys in there. Hassan Diarra coming in the gym and working out with Boog and Danny. It's a real life brotherhood. It's not. The one thing with this is is what they say, the best teams are led by players, right? Student led in the classroom, right? So what we're doing at the point where at our ages now is we just letting the alumni tell them what it is. Listen, this works. And when you got 100 guys in 10 years go Division I, and 10, 11 dudes go to the league, and a bunch of other dudes go overseas, like the proof is in the pudding. I'm not gonna keep on beating you in the head with the information, right? Right? Like I just let the alumni talk to you, and they active. Like they in college and they make time, man. When they coming home, they make time. They working with those guys on and off the court. They giving them the answers. We got the answers now. We the best.
Now let's go into a little different area. Let's talk about how New York has got flooded with teams.
Yeah.
And what does that do with relationships with the directors? And especially with the directors of different Nike teams, like how is it? Because you guys, I know it's supposed to be like a hands-off kind of agreement, but of course those lines get crossed. And how do y'all deal with the tension when y'all at these meetings and everybody competing because people contracts on the line? Like, how do y'all deal with the relationships?
I mean, I'll start with this, man. I'm humble enough to say that we have quality programs in our city, in our market in general. Like, these are not, fly by nights. These are not, rinky dink programs. These guys are mature. The heads of these programs, they mature, right? Like, we've known each other. We got families, right? Like, it's not as serious as people might think. Like, do guys recruit? They gonna recruit each other kids every year. It happens, right? It's just part of the culture, right? Like, that's what it is. So I don't think people take it, and this is my opinion, I don't think they take it personal, right? I don't think anyone is best friends with the other opponent in a sense, right? But they're cordial enough that when they see each other, it's how you doing, man? How's family? Like, if you think deep enough, there was a time when myself, Oz, Dana, and Shan was in the same program for a little while.
I remember that.
Right? And all of us are quote unquote directors of these programs now. And, Adam and New Heights, like, guys have been around for a while, so it's not, I don't think it's drama with, and maybe I downplay stuff, right? But I don't feel it where it's like, yo, I hate this person. And I tell people all the time, man, I came in this Grassroots with no friends. I got no problem walking out with none. So I'm not literally trying to be like, hey, I'll be cordial with people, but I got my real life friends, like real life, like away from Grassroots. But I think everybody's doing a good job, man. Like, put it to you like this. Ren's, New Heights Lightning, and PSA, all three had 3 teams in Peace Jam this year. Right? So that's telling you the bar is high, and we're some of the better programs in the country. So what's all the tension? You're going to get your kids, we're going to get our kids, and we all going to work in our own way. Everybody just in the kitchen in their own way. So I personally don't got no beef and drama to that extent. Like, no contract is going to make me hate another man, right? And honestly, there's so much movement in Grassroots consistently. You'd be a fool to think it's because of the director of another program. They're going to move, man. And they got the right to move.
How active are you in your kids' college recruitment? What do you like about it, and what don't you like about it?
First of all, I don't go to bed until all 10 are done. If it's 10, all got to get done. And I said it earlier, we've averaged 10 guys going D1 for 10 years. 10 classes. Right? We got 3 left in the 24 class. That would give us the 10. So as you can see, that's a lot of work. So I'm up at 12 o'clock midnight sending text messages to coaches, 8, 9, 10, 15 of them dudes, right? Their games is over at 11. I'm texting them about a kid, right? Like, I'm on Zooms with guys. And this is the thing that's tricky. I'm not just active with the guy when he goes in college. I'm active with you when you're trying to transfer. And I'm active with you when you're trying to graduate. So we are literally step by step all the way through the entire staff, the entire group of men. We are literally locked and key with you from let's say 8th grade all the way until you graduate. And if it got to get even further, you want to discuss financial advisors and agents and all, we there, whatever you need. Some guys got families where they like, yo, I'm cool, I got it. Bet as long as you go to a school you want to get to, because you got to go to school. That's on the arm. Like, that has to happen. So we're very, very involved in that. Like, it depends on each situation, but we want our guys to play. Right? So we're trying to prepare them to play freshman year.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. What percentage of these college coaches do you feel are completely honest?
I'll put it to you like this, man. They're honest based on your production. So it's not that they're trying to lie to you. They're trying to win the game. I'm not taking sides, but I want the kid to play. The coach wants the kid to play, but I want you to produce, which is what we trying to teach you, right? Like, you got X amount of minutes. What are you doing with your minutes? Because we need some production in these minutes to show why you're on the court. And that translates to college, right? Guys don't like accountability. They don't like for somebody to be on their back about producing while they're on the court. So I don't take words. I go with actions, right? And I watch basketball. Like, if I watched Kentucky last night, there was something that happened in the Kentucky game that I know most guys are not looking at. I know that. I'm watching that. I'm watching Coach Cal, and I'm watching the substitutions, and I'm watching everything. So at the end of the day, they can say whatever they want. You got to go out there and produce. Like,
Mm.
I'm sure they want to play you. When they recruiting you, they telling you, I want to play you. I see you like this. I see you like that. But once you get on the court, if you produce, he ain't got to like you. He don't got to like you. Like, we had this thing where we used to tweet face of the program, right?
Mm.
And I started looking at it saying, like, damn, we producing so many guys, helping so many guys. They going to the right levels because every time you look around, it's like, oh, he the face of the program and he had Sacred Heart. He the face of the program and he had St. Louis. He the face of the program and he had UConn. So, man, get your kids ready. Don't rely on whether or not the coach going to tell you the truth or not. Rely on your game.
Mm. Now, speaking of that, when we first came into this years ago and the sneaker company contracts were coming out and this and that nature, you always had the one or two players that were the studs that got the attention. Their parents might have got a little extra, this and that. Like, now, how do you deal with the fourth and fifth best player coming with those kind of demands? Like, what keeps you focused on, like, being able to handle those kind of situations? How do you deal with that player, the fourth and fifth best player?
I personally deal with it the same way I deal with America. Know your worth. Know your worth. Know what you bring to the table, right? Like, the things that we do, other people can't do. So if you're gonna stand there and ask for some nonsense, or you want to get into this camp, or you want to get into these rankings, you want to get into this McDonald's game. We got about 7 of those. You know what I mean? You want to, you know what I mean? You at the end of the day, you want these opportunities, bro. So we trying to teach you the long game. Could teach you how to fish, or I could give you some fish. So you have dialogue about, like, look, man, we can stand here and have this minute and elementary conversation about pennies, right? Or we can get into some stuff that say, look, man, I want you to become a millionaire. And look at the track record in which we've been able to help. And the better guys, their families, they're not coming like that. They coming with, like, get my kid better, get him in the right place. Please make sure you get every opportunity you can get your hands on from him, and let him chase his dreams. Prepare him to be a strong man in this world. So you got to know your worth, and you got to know when to walk away. You got to not be scared. Like, and listen, man, we done had some of the best come through here, right? And yeah, it's whatever the culture gonna be is the culture, and we ain't holier than thou, but you gotta stand for something. 10 toes down, no merges. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta stand for something, or you fall for anything, right? And like I said, I get it. You know, sometimes people gotta make decisions, but you gotta have some type of moral fiber to yourself, right? You gotta be able to say no and not be scared to lose. And guess what? You gotta be confident in your coaching. Like, we got some of the better coaches, I believe, in the country. So if we get a solid amount of talent of kids who want to work and listen and do things the right way, we're gonna be in the winning circle. So you're not gonna get every kid, but like I said, know your worth, know what you bring to the table.
Now let's talk a little bit. You mentioned transfer. As we all know, the transfer portal is off the hook right now. It's been off the hook the last few years. What do you think is the reason? Is it an entitled culture of kids that never had to be accountable, or is it coaches forcing them in? The
It's a
college
it's
coaches.
it's a mixed bag, man. It's I mean, like I said, you produce. I'm guaranteed the coach trying to keep you to get you to stay. If, if you don't produce, he ain't trying to leave the door shut. He opening that thing up for you and just give you every which way to say you can do whatever's best for you, right? And then it's as people, naturally we look for opportunity, right? We looking for more. We looking for, things to come at a rapid rate, and we naturally, guys, people don't like to wait for stuff. And that word process, they're not waiting on the process. They want stuff now. They're not looking down the road 6 years, and a lot of that stems from when you look back at they when they young. You got to ask these people if they have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, right? Like, people that you meet and say, all right, man, this person is a doctor. Obviously, you have to go through years of some type of academia and structure to get to that level. And you know how to play the long game. A lot of people that say, how I'm transferring right away, a lot of times they don't play the long game in life. Not saying you shouldn't transfer, right? Because people switch jobs all the time, right? In real life, we switch jobs looking for the right thing. So all they did was open up the Pandora's box to a thing called opportunity, right? They got the opportunity to move. They say you can move one time without no penalties in a sense, right? That sometimes you halfway in, halfway out. But if you be where your feet are sometimes and make it water the plant instead of thinking the grass gonna be green on the other side. Water that thing.
Describe that feeling of seeing a kid from your program walk across that stage and shake the commissioner's hand.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, because it been 10, and nine of them times I was in the crib drinking that red. so I got, they got the green room. I just got my room when I'm at the crib, and I'm watching, I mean, at that point in time I kind of know who getting drafted, right? And I got that bottle, and I'm sipping that thing, and I'm just rejoicing, and I'm proud of the guys that I work with, and I'm thinking about those moments of this young man and his family believing and working from wherever age they came into this program to where they are that day, right? Like I've never been to the green room. I've never been, in that type of arena. I like to allow the family to have their moment. They earned it. I don't got to be in the videos. You know what I mean? So I'm normally at the crib, and it's kind of like New Year's. It keeps happening every year. So I already got my bottle already ready. Shout out. we got about 3 in the possible. You know what I mean? Bad hand of spades, but like I said, I already got my bottle ready. So at some point in June, I'm gonna have a glass and we're gonna rejoice. You know what I mean? And I'm happy for them. But the thing is, it's not just getting there; it's about staying. Longevity is we got to change the mindset of I want to get to the league to I want to be able to stay in the league, and that's a lot of your off the court habits. Go back to the stuff we talked about on the road. What's your habits and what you're gonna fall back on when the playing time is not there? So we want to celebrate the guys who are staying in there as long as they can, and we also want to celebrate the dudes who come out and go make a nice living playing basketball somewhere else. But basketball can be a fun game.
Do a nice amount of pros give back to programs?
I think it's to each program, man. You know what I mean? I think it's about what your expectations are. My thing is this: I don't ever want to rely on a pro or NBA kid to make sure our program is functioning at a high level.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, you got to stand on your own, man. You got to make it work. Before they became pros, you figured it out, right? And honestly, who wants to pick up the phone for you if every time you pick up the phone, you're asking for some money? Like our guys answer the phone for us because we're not asking for money, right? We asking for a brotherhood. We asking for a relationship. We asking for you to help usher the next person into the steps that you've walked, right? We asking for you to counsel this kid and let him know what we're trying to say. I'll take the 20 things that we're requesting over the $5,000, 10 grand, whatever that might be. And guess what? If you really want to give back, it's a 501(c). You know what it is.
Ooh, talk about it.
If you want to, but that's not what we're doing it for, right? Because what happens when that pro say, "Man, I gave you 10,000 the last 4 years. I'm done with that. I got a wife and she checking the books." What you gonna do? So that's not how we operating. Like I'm not calling you asking you for no money. Nobody over here is doing that. Now, if we have a gala and you want to give back, if we do a GoFundMe, if you want to give back, shout out to all the guys, man. All of them dudes bought books, right? Like when I dropped the book, our PSA, shameless plug, right, on Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, right? They all bought books. They donated books to they old schools. They donated to churches. Like, so those guys are always doing stuff. And this is the thing, what most people don't know, it's not the pro that it's not just like Cole Anthony and Joe Toussaint are best friends. But my expectation for Cole is the same as Joe. If Joe gonna buy 10 books, then Cole buy your 10 books. And Ishmael buy your 10 books and all the way down the line. You know what I mean? So I'm not calling them guys with, hey man, I mean, every program is different. And to answer your question, I don't know if everybody get back because some of them ain't got no pros.
Ooh. Shots fired.
Man down.
Shots fired.
Man down.
We had this segment of our program where I do the 5 cards. I flip up the cards and I tell you how we're gonna attack it and what's your thoughts on it.
All right, come on, man.
First card. What kind of advice will Munch now give Munch then?
Munch now will give Munch then would say find a way to work with your mind more so than your body. It'll stretch you out for another X amount of years. You can outthink the game versus try to beat it with pure muscle. Like there was a time where I was like, I got to be everywhere, anywhere, and that was that, right? And I think that was young Munch. I think now more mature guy would tell you to obsess the situation and analyze it deeper, and then you can come up with an answer without having to move your body.
I like
Preserve
that.
your body, baby.
I like that.
Yeah.
Card 2. This person.
Yep.
Now, I look at this kid as the one that broke y'all through.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now,
Yeah.
my question to you is, did he pick the right school and did he leave too early?
Did he pick the right school? Yes, because Syracuse was the school that he loved, right? And anybody that know Chris at that point, Syracuse with that 2-3 zone, it was going to allow him to play right away as a freshman, which he was going to do, right? It wasn't too complicated, right? 2 steps up, 2 steps back, hand up, go box out, go grab one, play athletic, right? Did he leave too soon? No, because what happened with him is he got drafted in the first round. Right. And he did some time in the league, and him not staying in the league wasn't because he didn't stay in Syracuse for 4 years. Right. I think you also got to understand his background and who he was and what he had to overcome, throughout his life. So the opportunity to become a millionaire and the first one to make it from your family was too big to turn down. And he proved me. You know what I mean? He made me a believer of like everything that he was believing. He was like, I'm gonna go get it, Munch. Just trust me and ride. Right. So shout out to C-Mac. He literally just texted me yesterday. We still close and communicate on a weekly basis. It's my guy.
Okay. Slide card 3. Now, this kid, I knew him from Riverside. I knew his dad.
Yeah.
He played with y'all.
Yeah.
I understood the Virginia thing.
Yep.
I said, okay. I didn't see this. I didn't see this NBA thing. Now, when did you see it? Be honest. Because hold on. If somebody would have told me back then when he was on Riverside that he would be in the NBA, I would have told him they was crazy. Now, I sometimes I'm good at pegging players. I didn't see this one. When did you see it?
I saw it, I want to say his sophomore year, UVA. In the summer, he was at like CP3 camp.
Okay.
And he was going against all them other guys. And it was like, oh, nah, he can make a run. He can go into his junior year. And honestly, he made a plan. If you ever sit with him, he'll tell you, like, we kind of was mapping out some stuff. Like, hey, man, let's lead the ACC in assists. And you got to shoot these percentages. And, this is what you got to go about, how you can make it happen. And honestly, winning, right? Like making that run. And, the one thing with him that I learned is your off the court is more important than your on the court. Like now he's a baller, right? Like Ty's a baller. He knows that. Like he'll hoop anywhere, anytime. You know what he do on the court. Everybody can see that. But he's not going to give you an opportunity off the court to catch him slipping. He's not eating wrong. He's not staying up too late. He's not messing with that marijuana. He's not playing with the hookah. He's not drinking. He's never going to be a guy who's not going to maximize what God gave him. So off the court, that's like 90% of the battle. Like he taught me, man, watch everybody. And we got a couple guys right now that I look at and say, all right, he going to do that because they just stay locked in off the court. Right. And you notice when guys are leaving in and out of the NBA, a lot of it is just the troubles they have off the court. Right. He humble, he hard working, come from a great family, but he loved the game. He loved everything about the game. Right. And he's uber competitive. The other thing I learned from him, and he's not in the NBA because of the money. Like some people are like, hey, I want to make it to the league, change my family, get this car, get this and that. And the next thing you know, you got that. And then your why. You don't have a why. He's consistently searching for competition. So all you young boys out here that's trying to make it, search for competition. Search for competition. Get with PSA, play this EYBL, search for competition. Right? So that's the thing with Ty. He's going to be in the league for, in my opinion, another 8 to 10 years because he just stays out of trouble and he's staying working on his craft and he's always searching for competition. He loves the game.
Talk about it. I got one for you right here, though.
Okay.
Boom.
That's my guy.
Now, let me explain this one.
Yep.
The first move he did, he made a move to you.
Yep.
That shot him up the charts tremendously.
Yeah.
That was one of the best moves I've seen in terms of placement and notoriety. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Now, the second move going to Kentucky, I didn't see that.
Yep.
Now, hear me out. He was like a Philly folk hero after his senior year. Myself, I envisioned a more Jameer Nelson type thing, a Temple or St. Joe's. You become the star of that city. You know what I'm saying? People ride around you. And I thought his game would translate better in that kind of atmosphere. I didn't see the Kentucky thing, but in my opinion, I think like Cal tend to go with the next best guard, and he wasn't McDonald All-American, right?
Yeah, he was one of the 7-8.
Yeah. So, how you feel about that move in terms of his development?
I say this: if Quade gets into the NBA, we say it was perfect, right?
Okay.
But Quade Green is a man that bets on himself, and at the time, I got a USA gold medal. I'm a Jordan Brand All-American. I'm just coming off this championship game at Peace Jam. I'm a McDonald's All-American. I'm one of the top 4 point guards in the country. I got all the big schools recruiting me. And if Philly got some tough dudes, some tough guards, right? And he was the best at the point, right, of attack. So you believe in yourself, and I believe in him, right? And it's not like when he walked into Kentucky, he got a little injury to his back in the beginning, and Shea Gildress became something. But you look at his line of work and his line of business, man. He was putting on in Newman, he was putting on in the EYBL, the hardest circuit. He was solid in USA gold medal. He was everywhere he went, he performed. So why would I not think I can go to Kentucky and do the same thing I've been doing?
Indeed,
right?
Indeed.
And you got to remember, guys, when I get to that place, I'm taking my shot. I'm one step away from the dream. And at times people look at Cal and say he gonna give me the best shot, right? So shout out to Quade, man. I'm still riding with him to this day. That's my
indeed. I love the kid.
Oh,
I just thought that going there, I don't know. I just didn't feel like Cal gave him that kind of leeway that he needed to really show his game. You get what I'm saying?
I mean, we always gonna play, and it's not a shot at you or anybody else. Like, naturally, if it don't end up in the league, we play. We're able at that point to say,
no doubt. That's how. Indeed.
Yeah, we're able to play Monday morning quarterback. But
always.
The thing with him is another one got his degree. Still making money, still hooping. Got a little one. He a father now.
Praise the Most High, man. All praises.
Yeah, and he's had the best high school moments you can have.
I know, and that's what people tend to forget about.
He got it all.
The whole line of work. Everything that you did along the way. You know what I mean? You said gold medal, McDonald's game. That's all that is celebrated. Many people don't get a chance to do that. A whole lot of people don't get a chance to do that.
Jordan Brand Hoop Summit. Listen, man. 5-star. Right. Philly, come see me.
All right, the last card. The last card. I mean, for the 5-card segment.
Yes, sir.
Now,
CA.
This is what I'm gonna say. Coming out of middle school, one of the most recruited 8th grade kids in the country for AAU teams. Now the issue is he got a father that won a national championship, and he got a father that's an NBA player. So you can't go to him with the regular Joe Smo recruiting stuff. How was you able? What did you tell him that other people didn't that got you able to land him?
I mean, I think that's where most people don't know. It wasn't just Greg. I feel like anybody that's doing the surface recruitment is gonna go straight to the father, right? And we took 4 or 5 meetings with Greg, sat down, had a ton of coffee and tea and and meetings and had dialogue and ton of talking through stuff with Cole and shout out to Crystal McQuarrie and Ray McGuire, excuse me, both McGuire, his quote unquote stepdad, but that's what he lived with, right? He living with his mom, living with his dad, and the storyline is crazy because we recruited him. I recruited him mostly from September all the way to March, and I recruited him for 17U to play with Quade Green, right? And Mo Bamba and Brandon Randolph and all of those guys, and the last step was literally a 2-hour meeting with, like, after Greg gave me the cosign, sent me the crystal, and I'm happy he did it the way he did it because I have a life friendship in Crystal, and I have a mentorship with Ray, right? Where he's a mentor of mine, and I remember coming in and Ray just flat out told me, you wouldn't even be in this room had you not gone to Wesleyan University, right? Once again, the academic, resume of myself got me in the room. And then we proceeded to talk and discuss our vision as a program, the type of guys we have, and everything we're talking about on this Zoom. And, we're fortunate enough to make a relationship that continues on to this day. So one of the things that I will say that I thought was super smart with Greg, and most people would say he's going too far, he asked for 2 games that you won and 2 games that you lost, right? So you can see the offensive, defensive schemes and things of that nature. Cool, gave it to him. And then he wanted the rosters of the next 2 to 3 classes. Because if Cole was playing 17s, he just wanted to know that you were going to have the right kids and right talent around his kid for the next few years. Because, as I said earlier, long-term thinkers. He didn't want to move. So his whole thing was, we're gonna go through this long journey, but when I make this decision, I'm not moving. I'm staying down. And if you watched him, he stayed the whole time. And to this day is a big component of what we do on a daily basis at PSA. Like he's active from a Greg. Greg just gave me a quote for my for my last book, for my next book coming out. Crystal helped me, even have the heart to write the book I just wrote. And Ray consistently, is there for me as a black man in America, like about real life stuff. So forget what Cole did on the court. What that family has been able to do for our program holistically is untouchable.
Wow.
These great people.
Wow. She's definitely great, man. One of the best people I've been around.
Nah,
Now,
shout out to them.
yeah. Now we're gonna get into a couple other things. In life, sometimes people go through tragedies. Like, I went through my tragedy and you was there for a lot of that, man. You know
Yes,
what I mean?
sir.
And I want to appreciate you for being there for me when I was going through what I was going through. You know what I'm saying? You guys went through one too, and I want you to talk about how did you guys deal with this when it happened?
Yeah.
How did y'all get through it, and how hard did it hit y'all program?
Yeah.
With the past of 40.
What's crazy is we went through 2. My man Sean Hicks had passed away, and then 40 had passed away, like and I want to say like a 3-4 day window, right behind each other. It's crazy. Like
Okay.
it's probably the craziest thing I've been through in a long time. And what I will say is that was real life pain. Like forget grassroots, forget AAU, all of that. Like that was real life pain for all of us. And there was so many lessons that came out of that. And honestly, I was able to sit back at one point and watch the room to see these people that everybody says is supportive of your program, is supportive of what you guys do, and not even from a financial standpoint. Like we were mature enough to get our ones up, right? And to get our ones up and make sure that he was sent off, and they both were sent off in the right way, right? And shout out to their families to this day. Like I visited 40 gravesite maybe 3 weeks ago, myself and Coach Geese. Like that's real family. But I say all that to say the thing that kind of rubbed me wrong was the business that we're in. People were in a rush for me to finish grieving so that way I can do whatever they needed me to do for them. So it really sets you back to say, if you thought I was cold hearted before, you dealing with a whole nother animal. I'm not even playing with you, right? And how I watch the movements to say, people say, oh man, that was a good dude, and keep it moving. What's to say that's not the same thing that's going to happen to me? So now what's going on is you become selfish with your time, and you
Mm-hmm.
start to calculate what you want to do with your time, and it can't just be about other people's kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was one of the greatest men I've ever known. Like, he was a great, both of them guys were great souls and real, kind to people and unselfish, and just a lot of good, you know, words that goes with them, right? And I mean, I ain't gonna lie, it also closed the door to me making new friendships at
Wow.
that level, right? Because I started to analyze how many more times can I go through this level of pain?
Mm.
Because the friends that I have, the brothers that I have, like, we're really, really tight, right? And then financially, it lends itself to say, okay, well, we got to put some type of funding away in case this happens to someone else, because when it happens to people in our community, you don't have the funds right then and there to do certain things, right?
Mm.
It's a lot of paperwork that goes into your insurances, and
Yeah.
getting your death certificate, and I want to be able to be there in case it's not in me for whoever it's going to be. And then, like I said, letting you into my life, my real life, I was able to put some stuff to certain places. If I go early, my guys are going to be able to make sure I'm okay without it being a burden on them. You know what I mean? But
And I could relate to you in the fact of, like, one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast thing was when I hear the stories about the events, especially my events and stuff like that, I finally get a chance to enjoy what I was doing. See, when I was doing it, I never really got a chance to enjoy it because I always had to think about the next event.
yeah,
And that next event could be the one that bomb. And when you're dealing with our people, you don't get that many chances to mess up. So I'm always concentrating on the next event. I never enjoyed it. And then I had that tragedy over my head. So I never really got a chance. When people would tell me the work I was doing, I couldn't really relish the moment because I always was thinking about that case, or I was thinking about, I got to get ready for the next event. So
yeah,
now by I'm doing this podcast and sharing these moments with y'all, I could think about the stuff I did and enjoy it because
yeah,
we don't get that opportunity. So it was good. It ain't good that you went through this situation, but you had come to realize what's really more important.
yeah. Put
You know what I'm
everything in perspective. It aligns your body right in your
saying?
mind,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I'm way more balanced now than I
yeah.
was
Mhm.
pre these situations.
Okay, okay. Now let's get to your next profession.
The
You got into writing a book. Now,
bestseller.
Now I'm gonna tell you this.
Yes.
When you told me you was writing a book, my first thoughts were, I'm about to hear about your journey, how you develop PSA, this and that. Then you told me the concept, and I'm still not getting it
Hmm.
until the book landed in my hand.
Yeah.
Then I start reading this book, and I'm like, how did you even come up with this kind of concept? Because I had never seen it.
Trauma.
Mm.
A lot of childhood, young adulthood trauma, man. Life trauma. Like, us as men, especially black men, we
Mm-hmm.
going through it every day of the year,
Mm-hmm.
man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big journal writer, right? Like,
Mm.
I gotta put my thoughts down. I'm thinking, because I don't like to share. One, I'm not at the point where I can consistently go to therapy, right? And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
two, I think I'm kind of close hearted to sharing certain information in case somebody try to use it against me later.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm daily. I'm writing in that journal 4 or 5 days a week, and all you see in that book is really my journal entries and my thoughts on what things occurred and how I saw them, and life that's going on, and then try to the big picture is decision making, and try to give some answers to the youth and just people in general, right? And I thought the design of it lent itself to the ADD, right? Like, people
Mm.
can't concentrate too long and don't got time to read for long periods of time, and the 2-page short synopsis and storylines, I thought would catch people's attention, and it being real stories, right? would make you feel like, hey, man, I'm watching television, so I don't have to watch this episode of Law and Order for an hour. I could get in this book for a couple minutes, and it leads to a discussion. So I think it was perfectly designed for what we go through, and I think it was refreshing for people to have something to read that wasn't, I got to worry about the page number, and I got to worry about what happened in the last chapter, and I'm not at the place. I gave you enough of who I am in there if you dig deep, right? I gave you, and I think it was just another layer to who I am, right? I feel like I'm trying so hard to put that book in the hands of people as fast as I can without worrying about the funds to it, right? And I think people they expect it to be about basketball. And if they get to know me, they're like, oh, this dude ain't thinking about no basketball all day long. I got to live real life. You know what I mean? And that's what basketball is, real life and everything around it, off the court. I'm just trying to focus on the off the court, being the best man I could be. So this is definitely trying to give people the answers. I mean, you see the book. I don't go nowhere without my baby now. You know what I mean?
Now,
Listen, I don't go nowhere without my baby.
I use this book every day at my class to start off the day. I do four groups a day, and we do an entry.
Yeah.
And this entry starts us off. And today I got a new group of kids, so we started back from the first entry. And you started the book with a bang.
Yeah.
Kid come home from college trying to surprise his mom on a visit.
Yeah.
Goes to the flower shop with his friend, pick up the flowers.
Yep.
Didn't call his mom because he wanted to surprise her.
Yes, sir.
He gets to the house, knocks on the door. Mom answers the door. Mom has sunglasses on. He's startled because it's in the middle of the winter. He gives her a hug. The glasses fall off.
Yeah.
And then he sees both of her eyes are black and blue.
Yeah.
So he asks his mom, who beat her like that. She don't say nothing, but she looks at the couch where the boyfriend is sitting, and then it pauses and says, what's your next decision? Now it has what you gonna do? Are you gonna have a conversation with the man? Are you gonna beat the man up? Are you gonna call the police? What are your options?
Yeah.
Start the book off like that. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what it does is it puts you in that place, right? Like, how many of us grew up and there was some level of domestic violence going on in the crib, right? Like, there was some level of a man doing something he was supposed to be doing to a woman, right? And you as a youth, you growing up seeing that, man, and how do you not do that when you get older, right? And what's the protection, for your mom? And I grew up with my mom. Like, I'm a mama's boy, mama's man at this point. I'll be a mama's granddaddy at some point. It don't matter. Like, mom's is first and foremost at all times. So, in looking back, I handled the situation in the best way that I knew how to handle the situation, right? But it's just these storylines that you're reading are real. They're not these not make believe. This ain't like, you know what I mean? This is my memories, right? Like 20, 19, 16, 33 years old. Like, these are real life memories of myself, those close to me, things I've seen, things I've felt, and man, I could write 4 of these books. You know what I mean?
It kind of reminds me of
in this art.
It kind of remind me, what was the Ghostface song where he talked about growing up? That's what your book is. Yeah. When he talked about eating boiled eggs and sleeping in the bed with his cousins, and that song, that Ghostface song, that book is and there's so many layers because I could reuse it because of the way that you did it. You get what I'm saying? And I could pull it out and bring it in. One of the interesting things was the conversation dialogue, because one of the entries was about black kids getting harassed by the police. Now, I read this, but I had a white kid in my class.
Yeah.
So he raised his hand. He like, Mr. Mike, are you sure I should be allowed to answer this? I'm like, yeah, sure. This free will answer. He said, I be with my friends sometime and they get harassed.
Yeah.
I don't get harassed. And I'm feeling some kind of way. And so it opened up a whole nother dialogue.
Yo, man, I mean, the book.
You get what I'm saying? So it was brilliant for you to even structure this book like that.
No, I appreciate all the flowers, man. I mean, like I said, I had no idea the book was going to become, and whatever the term success means to certain people, Like I just knew like, hey, if I say I'm gonna do something, I gotta finish it. And then I got a chance to. It's another thing that when I'm asking these young men that we ushering through this world, hey man, I'm trying to stand on what my actions are.
Okay.
Like, so once you get to the point where 20, 30 of your alumni hitting you talking about, hey man, what's up with that book? I'm looking forward to reading it. When you gonna finish it? Ooh, that's that energy you need, right? And you know, and shout out to everybody that got it, man. And like I said, it's on Amazon. If you can't afford or don't want to spend it, contact me, man. I'm putting it in the mail. I'm putting it in your hands. Like, we just gonna make sure you get them. Like, it's not even about the funding with that thing. It's something that a bucket list thing that got done, and we put some pain in with it, and it was good for me to let that let some of that trauma out.
Talk about that. Now, I'm co-signing and telling people out there, especially if you have a son, get 2 copies so you and your son can sit down and go through this book together.
Yeah.
Because some of these decisions
Yeah.
can change his life. One emotional decision can mess up his life forever. This book helps you deal with those kind of decisions.
Yeah, you got to make the right decisions consistently. And to your point, if you can't get it, contact Mike. Mike could contact me. We'll get you a copy or 2. You know what I mean? It's nothing gonna stop you from having it if you want it. If you want it, you know what I mean. The post office is always open.
Well, bro, the other reason I did this podcast was because I wanted to give you guys y'all flowers while y'all still here. I was tired of people leaving this earth and then people want to say what they did and those people not getting a chance to tell their stories, man. And I appreciate you coming on. I never seen you on a live before, so I feel special that you on here. And I'm glad to be able to call you a friend and say that I took this journey with you, man.
Yo, I'll put it to you like this. I love you. I've never been on live. Anybody that know me know Munch don't be on that social media like that. I don't even know what it is. I don't do no TikToks and none of that. But when your friends and your brothers come calling, you obligated and you should want to jump on and help and assist in any form or fashion. So flowers to you for going in this new endeavor, this new journey. You've been hitting a home run. I've watched the first few. You got great guests and a phenomenal style at which you're doing it. I hope you continue to have fun with it. And, you know, we need to give each other their flowers even more, right? Like, shout out to everybody that watches this and, you know, has fun with it. And like I said in the beginning, we the best.
Fortitude. Remember our word? Fortitude, man.
Fortitude. We got fortitude around here, boy.
There you go, man. All right, man. Enjoy the rest of your night. I know you probably missed the rest of the game. Drive home safe, man, and give me a call tomorrow so I know you got home safe, man.
Love.
All right, love you too, bro. All right. This has been another episode of In the Spotlight Live podcast. Munch was on, man. I want to thank you guys for coming on tonight. Next week, we got another special guest coming on. I will get you guys informed quickly. Now, tomorrow night, we switch gears. We go into the Sober Heads podcast where we talk. We're gonna talk to John Rogers. He's gonna do his experience, strength, and hope with us. Tell us about his road to sobriety. So tune in tomorrow night at 8:00 for the Sober Head podcast and enjoy the rest of your night. And may the Most High bless you guys. Shalom.